thank you all for coming. We have one mic, so we're going to pass it down whenever we ask questions or you guys introduce yourselves. So how it will work is we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by our students here. Then each candidate will have a 2-minute introduction. And whenever you have 30 seconds remaining, Heath down there will flash a sign that tells you 30 seconds, and he'll tell you whenever time is up. All right, thank you to the readers who took this opportunity to get involved and engaged by voicing their concerns through submitted questions for council candidates. We also want to commend all the candidates who made themselves available to share their visions for Ironton and Coal Grove, as well as answering complex questions in a brief amount of time. Also encouraging is the participation of the future leaders of our county, these high school students who have chosen to spend their evening getting involved with their local government. So thank you all for participating. We'll start out with 2-minute introductions, and we'll start with Andy here on the end.
My name is Andy Holmes. I'm running for Village Council in Coal Grove. I've served on the Village Council since 2017. I've lived in the community for 42 years now. That'd be my whole life. Pretty proud of the work that we've done there since 2017. I was a big part in helping land some grants that improved our infrastructure. Got all new water distribution lines for the village. We're working on that project now. Also proud of the fact that we brought money to our park and upgraded our park to an ADA compliant park. There's still plenty of work to be done. In my next term, I would focus on upgrading our police department. We have a lot of concerns there. Police officers are harder to find. We've got some work to do in terms of pay and soliciting those police officers into our community. So that would be what I would focus on. But, more than anything, just want to do more for the residents. Want to set up a plan to where we can, once a month, utilize the village workers to pick up brush and debris, things that our local trash service doesn't pick up. These things are just the things that people have talked to me about in the past of what ails them in our community and problems and issues that they've had in terms of getting rid of a mattress, in terms of getting rid of a pile of brush, those things the garbage truck won't pick up. So we've got work to do to implement these things to just really make the everyday life of our residents even better. I'm asking for the people of Coal Grove to elect me to a 4-year term. Got a lot of work to do and really just want to be available to all the citizens of Coal Grove.
I'm Bob Cleary, and I've had several say, how many times have you been on stage? I'll tell everybody, this is my 9th time to meet the candidates. But I'll tell you what, it doesn't seem to get any easier because what we're looking at doing just keeps getting harder. But I'm running for Ironton City Council. I'm married to Cheryl Shelton. We have 4 children, and we always want some grandchildren. So we got one, we were excited, and now we're at number 13, which that's a ton of blessings to have 13 grandchildren and a ton of work. I own BC Tool and Party Rentals. I've been there 44 years. I'm also the local U-Haul dealer, been there 34 years, provide that service. Also, we own the Sherway Cab Company, and we've run it for 15 years. We've got, with U-Haul, they give out an award to their local dealers that really goes over and above what they're supposed to. Most dealers, if they get one, they feel pretty happy about it. But I'm getting ready to go to my number 14 of the top 100 awards, and that means that there was out of North America, there's 19,000 dealers, and BC Tool Rental, myself, we are in the top 100 of those 19,000 dealers. It's something to be pretty proud of, and I can tell you it isn't how much money you make that gets you the award. It is customer service, and that's something that my whole career I've tried to do with everybody. I mean, when people come into the tool rental to rent something, I'm available for them. We usually stand and talk for 10, 15 minutes about city issues because they know they can walk in any time. I'm there usually around 40 to 50 hours a week, and they know they can stop by BC Tool Rental and get in to talk to me. So I'm also running for a 4-year term, and I would appreciate getting the votes to put me back in for one more term.
Good evening. I'd first like to say thank you to the Ironton Tribune for putting together tonight's political forum. We're very lucky to have the Tribune in our community for so many years. A little bit about myself. I'm a 1999 graduate of St. Joe High School. I received a bachelor's degree in accounting from Marshall University. I've also earned a master's degree in education from Marshall. I worked in education for several years, including here at Ironton, and I'm currently teaching personal finance and business at Portsmouth High School. I'm also a licensed insurance agent with Greg Gibson Insurance and Financial Services in Ashland. I'm extremely blessed with 4 fantastic women in my life, including my wife, Melissa, who's here this evening, and our 3 daughters, Addison, Carly, and Reese, which we like to call Reese Cup. We are active in our community, and my girls are always supportive of me and my work for the city. This race is important to me because I want to continue to work to give them a great place to grow up. I've also been very blessed to have the best father any man could ask for in Ralph Kline. He's taught me many lessons in life, including the importance of serving our community. I was honored 4 years ago to be chosen by residents to represent and work for them on City Council. I worked hard over my first term to help put the city in a better financial position to address the many issues that it faces, and to pass legislation that I believe makes our community a better place to live. The city has made a lot of progress over the last 4 years that I'm proud of and excited to be talking about this evening. And tonight I'm asking the community for your support and your vote to serve Ironton for 4 more years and keep our great city moving forward. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Julie Pate. I'm running for Ironton City Council. I'm extremely nervous. There's no sense trying to lie about it because you can hear my heart beating in this microphone. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this. I'm 45 years old. I'm a paralegal and a realtor by trade, but right now I am working part-time as a substitute teacher's aide for all the different schools in the county. I've been to most schools except for Ironton. I'm very honored to be here tonight. I don't have experience around here like the other people do, because when I was 18, I grew up in Kitts Hill and I could not wait to get out of this town, and I left. And I've been back since 2013, and I've never been more excited to be a citizen and a part of Ironton. I just love what everybody's doing, and so I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody who's running. I think I would like to join mostly in what everybody's doing. Right now, I also serve as the acting chairperson on the Ironton-Lawrence County Head Start Policy Council. I got elected on there in 2017 when my daughter Lily went to preschool. It's my 5th year, and I have been acting chairperson for a year. We do this mostly virtually, so I'm not used to really seeing this many people looking back. But it has been quite an honor to do that. But this is my last year doing that. I also do the Ironton 411 page. It's a pretty big growing group in town, trying to keep people updated on what's going on in our city. Also run some of the Citizens Watch groups. So we do a lot of that from behind the scenes. I appreciate, and I'm very honored to run, I would appreciate the votes and the chance to serve the citizens of Ironton. And I just appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Good evening. My name is Chris Perry. I am a 1987 graduate of Ironton High School. Took off from Ironton, went to school at Ohio University in Athens, moved to the greater Columbus area in 1993, where I lived until just a couple of years ago. I was excited to move back home, very excited to be a candidate with these fine men and women. The thing that I most want to express is I've got a tremendous passion for making sure that this great city has the opportunity to continue to move things forward. I've seen just over the past handful of years, with the help of the fine, honorable Sam Cramblett and City Council, things that have gotten much better, and being out talking to hundreds of people around town, they're happy with a great many things, including City Council. I look forward to joining this team. I am the father of 2 children. My daughter is a recent graduate of Miami University. My son is a brand new freshman at the University of Cincinnati. My desire to see things excel in Ironton comes from a deep love that I have for my city. I appreciate your time.
Good evening, and thank you for coming, everyone, and thanks to everyone who helped set this up. I'm Yvonne D.K. Sinnott. A lot of people don't realize that the last name is Sinnott, and the Sinnotts are originally from Ironton, Ohio. My father even worked for the mafia to help support 11 children since their mother had passed away. I had a great-grandfather who was mayor of Ironton. Unfortunately, my parents, when they came back from World War II, 3 of the boys decided not to come back to Ironton until the mafia left. So they went to Flatwoods and built, and that's where I grew up. My daughter, I have one daughter, she's 52 years old, and she attended Ironton School Systems, well, St. Lawrence, because we are Catholic, and she also graduated from Ohio State. I have several years of college, but I decided not to get a degree because I'm not going to do their math and they make more money from me. I've been in and out of college for probably 15 years, taking as many classes as I can because I love education. And I think education is one answer to a lot of our problems in this world. I care about children. I've had my dance studio for 57 years, and I appreciate Ironton backing me. It was hard in the 60s. And Miss Sherry back there knows what I went through. But I've proven my point that I like to make things work. I don't know much about the inner structure of our city government, but I'm willing to learn. I hear a lot of comments in my studio and the problems. I want to help the community. And I'm learning, and if you select me, I'll do the best I can and work with respect to the other council members. Thank you for being here.
Hi, I'm Cole Triplett. I'm a junior at Ironton High School. This question is for both Coal Grove and Ironton. Many parts of Lawrence County have seen a population drop in the latest census figures. What should be done to slow the pace of outmigration in the area?
Thank you. That's a good question. And it's a question that I think every community leader should look at and try to figure out. One reason why I got into this was because I have a couple of young sons and they're here. And I want to make sure that as a leader of the community that we're providing every opportunity we can to keep these guys home. I've got a brother who had to move away and go to work, and that's never a good thing. I'm dedicated to staying in our community, and I think some of the things that should be done is, working with the land bank over the last few years to remove some of the blight in our area. Blight somewhat begets blight. So cleaning up the neighborhoods and getting property available for people to build on. Coal Grove's 2.1 square miles, so we don't have a whole lot of room to work with. We've really got to take a look at what we have and make it better. There was an issue where we wanted to solicit a restaurant into the village of Coal Grove, but when the entrepreneur found out that we couldn't sell alcohol, he pulled out. He didn't want to invest into our community. So I took the steps necessary to get the alcohol issues on the ballot. The community voted to make alcohol legal in Coal Grove. So these are just some of the things that we can do to solicit these businesses to our community in the village of Coal Grove to create opportunity.
Hi, I'm Cole Triplett. I'm a junior at Ironton High School. This question is for both Coal Grove and Ironton. Many parts of Lawrence County have seen a population drop in the latest census figures. What should be done to slow the pace of outmigration in the area?
You know, when you ask a question like that, we all face the same problems. And I think what Ironton has done to try and encourage more growth is we've done the project down on 9th Street where we got the hotels in, we got Frisia's, we got a steakhouse. We recently cut the ribbon on the new Little Caesars down there, and there's several other restaurants that's supposed to be coming into that area down there. As far as people moving in, moving out, it seems like I see just as many, if not more people moving back to Ironton and turn their U-Haul trucks in for what that's worth, more so than what I do see people renting them to leave the town. And most of the time when people are leaving, I'll ask them, why are you leaving Ironton? And typically the number one answer that I get is that they're following their kids. If their kids moved away, the kids are in Florida, we're going to move down and live next door to them, or they've moved, we had people moving to California last week, and it's to keep up with all the family members. So, you know, I think Ironton is offering more with the expansion that we've had. Some of the other things that we've had done is like the splash park for the kids and several restaurants. It's besides ones I mentioned that's in town now. And I think there's more opportunities coming to Ironton than what we'd have had in the past. I think there's more coming than what's leaving.
Cool, that's a great question, and it's not a simple answer. In my mind, it's fourfold. First, people need to have housing opportunities. Right now, you can see our housing market there's not a lot of homes available for people to purchase or rent. And right now, we're seeing families that are not as large as what were there 30, 40 years ago. So we have less people living in the same amount of housing. So families aren't bigger, so that's going to have an impact on population. So I believe the strategy and what we've been working on in City Council for the last few years is opening up more housing opportunities for people to live in our city. Right now, this year, we committed $75,000 in the city to invest in demolition and condemnation of blighted property, hopefully opening up lots where new property can be developed and new homes where people can come and live. Second, people want to make sure that they live in a safe environment. That's why it's important for the city to continue to invest in full-time police and fire departments. Over the last 4 years, we've done that. We've made sure that we have police and fire on the streets, keeping our neighborhoods safe. Third is economic development. It's important people want to live and work in the same place. And to have economic development, it takes investing. The city has established an economic development fund and has funded that for the mayor to use to recruit and retain and grow new businesses. And fourth is quality of life. People want to, where they live, they want to have things to do. They want to have things to keep them entertained. That's great schools, which the city has tried to be great partners with our communities, our schools, and also things to do. We've invested money in walking paths on the riverfront and Etna Street Park improvements. So I think that it's fourfold as far as what we need to do to keep people here.
Thank you. It's very hard to add to that, Nate. That was a pretty good plan there. And I would agree with that. I was a part of the census, the decennial census. I was a operations office supervisor for our zone. So I know that the census numbers were disappointing. I will add also it was extremely hard and near difficult to get cell service and to gather the information in the county that we would have liked to. But the numbers do say that people are leaving our county. I was one of the people that did leave our county and our area and our city. I believe it does boil down mainly to housing. We need some lower income housing. We need some apartments. We need places where people can live and afford to live and be safe and clean while they're there. And I think that once that happens, all the other things should follow. I'm definitely all about families and kids and having some more parks and maybe even some sensory things for some of our special needs kids. But we really need to keep that going. And I don't know if that involves grant writing. And I'm with Yvonne down there. I don't know exactly all the inner workings of the city, but I would like to find out how we can continue to keep our people here, because it is one of my passions to have my daughter never want to leave here, and for all her friends to stay here, to be teachers, to be doctors, to be firemen, to be all the things that keep our community going. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks for the great question, Mr. Triplett. I'd like to see Ironton partner with Ironton City Schools and tie together an opportunity providing a greater emphasis on trade schools, not just traditional four-year college. What I mean by this is, the four-year college experience isn't just for every kid that decides that they want to go off and do something in the world. Learning a trade, staying local, is a great way to make a living, help to raise a family, and having that kind of background, that kind of training can help to springboard somebody into a great career, staying here, staying local, and being active in their community. I think that the city of Ironton is primed for several different things, not the least of which is inviting industry back to Ironton. I grew up in Ironton in the 70s and the 80s, and it was on the tail end of what was a boom for Ironton. And, in my mind, what I envision is a small industrial plant moving back to Ironton, offering 50, 75, 100 jobs. Those jobs being, $40,000, $50,000 jobs, increasing a tax base for the city, rather than expecting that the 1/3 of the current population carries the burden for revenue enhancement. I think that coupling the idea of making Ironton an inviting place to bring new business, viable business with good paying jobs, together with having young people decide to become educated and stay here in Ironton is the best way to see our future.
Thank you. I've been listening to everyone. I agree with everything that we've all said, but I was wondering about industry. I was thinking about that today, and I've thought about it many times. One thing that the whole world needs is more recycling. And I know a lot of people can't. We talk about these things we'd like to do in Ironton, but there's not money available. I would like to check and see if we, like all the land that Dayton Malbel was on, why didn't we have some kind of recycling? That's a big money maker for some cities, and it's clean. We have little recycling bins everywhere, but everybody puts trash in them. I clean mine out and pull all the plastic off so it can be recycled. Like if you put a sticker on plastic, it can't be recycled. Also, I wanted to see a hotel downtown. The Vault building, that would have been a gorgeous hotel, and extend it over where that little strip mall is and put rooms so people can see the river. I'd like to see boats coming down the river again. I'd like to see us have our regatta again on the river to entertain people, something that's clean and healthy for our community. There's all kinds of things in my head, but I don't know exactly how to get that. And whatever you people think that can bring more money into Ironton, I'm with that. I'm also against paying 1% employee tax for people that are working, not for people on Social Security, and we keep socking more and more on the water bill. We are the cheapest city on the river from Portsmouth to Huntington. If you work in Huntington 1 hour a week, you pay $5 a week tax. Every other city charges property tax for cities. We do not. So how do you think that the mayor or the council can keep doing all the things like fixing the streets, fixing the sewer? Where's the money? We can't keep asking for grant. We have to make money. And people don't understand. I pay $20 a month for Pepsi Cola. How much do you pay for cigarettes? I cleared $50,000 this year. All I would have had to pay was $250 tax. That's ridiculous. I'd rather pay $500 and help my city. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Victoria Kearns. I'm a junior at Ironton High School. I have a question for Ironton. What is the status of the leaf ordinance that made having leaves in the gutter a misdemeanor? And how can you explain the intent? How was this ordinance communicated with residents? And how do we know how many leaves are too many? For those not currently on council, how would you better communicate with residents about ordinances such as these that will affect their daily lives?
I believe this one's for you. I can't speak on Ironton ordinance.
Oh,
That ain't me.
okay. All right. I kind of didn't hear the whole question.
It was about the leaf ordinance that makes having too many leaves in your gutter a misdemeanor. How was this communicated with residents, and how are they to know how many leaves are too many, and what can we do to better inform our residents of ordinances like this that affect their daily lives?
Thank you. I guess you're asking me a question I should have an answer to, but I have never heard of an ordinance that you can only have so many leaves. I think the way we address the leaf problem is we ask the residents not to rake them out in the street and don't bag them, that the city makes arrangements to come by and pick them up. And as far as the biggest problem we have, I can see, is when people do rake them out into the street, and then they end up into the gutter, and then they end up into the sewer system, and it just creates a big problem. But as far as any kind of fee on how many leaves we're doing, I'm not aware of anything.
I can't speak to the exact verbiage of the ordinance you're talking about, but I will talk about the leaves in Ironton. Right now we have a lot of mandates with the EPA, and we have what's something called MS4 that we need to make sure that we're in compliance with, and keeping our storm drains is extremely important with that compliance of the EPA. So there are ordinances in place with that. We also have our MS4 coordinator, Mr. John Seitz, who works in educating our residents and businesses as far as what needs to be done with those leaf and that leaf collection. As far as better informing residents, City Council in the last 4 years has invested money in updating our website that has our agenda and ordinances for everyone to be able to read and get to better know. We've also invested money on our ordinance library online, where people can go in and view all of our ordinances that have been passed. And finally, we've also invested money so that our city council meetings are streamed on YouTube, so that anyone that's not even able to come to city council meetings can view that. We've also updated our emails with the city for residents to be able to communicate with us on any issues that they might have like that.
Okay, so I have a neighbor who rakes his leaves into the gutter. So I know we all have these problems. I don't know what the exact ordinance is, and I'm not sure about that specific thing. I do know that if I am elected, I plan to do short videos every Friday after the council meetings. I do encourage everyone also to watch those council meetings. They are streamed live and very informational on what's going on, to keep up with what's going on, what ordinances are going on, and then if you have questions, then you can go ask those questions. I believe you can even go to the meetings in person, but I think we do need to communicate more ordinances to our citizens, and so my idea for that is to just do short videos every other week after the meetings, just to sort of update people on what's going on every other week. Thank you.
Very succinctly said, Nate. The leaf issue is exactly that. It is a problem with the storm drains. One of the things that makes Ironton so appealing is the tree-lined streets. Everybody loves that. One of the issues that we have this time of year is the fact that the change of season causes huge issues. If anybody's noticed, there is a dedicated street sweeper just for the leaves, once or twice a month, to take care of that issue, to ensure that the leaves don't get into the storm drains, cause bigger issues down the line. What I would like to see as a resolution to making sure that citizens are better involved and informed is to offer a revolving / roving council type town hall meeting that goes from one location to another. Wouldn't require the entire city council. There's a thing called the Sunshine Law. We have to make sure that city council meetings are given due notice so that anybody that would like to attend can do just that. But I think it would help our community if instead of trying to bring the mountain to Muhammad, if Muhammad went to the mountain. I think if we would set up meetings at area churches or schools or other businesses where people might have greater opportunity to have one-on-one FaceTime, these kind of things could be addressed in a community fashion.
I just want to say I didn't know about this leaf ordinance. I've got all these I've been trying to find. If that's a problem, behind my building, for instance, on 3rd Street, there is a storm drain right now that is full of weeds because nobody's cutting them. I was supposed to have an alley all back through there. I'm not going to clean that sidewalk. I can't even get my truck back there to get my props out. So I cut a bunch of weeds myself around my building the other day, and I'm like, wow, somebody needs to come and clean this up. So if the city isn't cleaning it up and the state's not cleaning it up, I guess all of us in the community need to take our hind end outside and clean our yards up. That's a big problem, big problem. I've been driving around looking at these homes that are ready to be destroyed because people don't take care of them. I'm 73 years old and handicapped, and I get out and clean my yard up. And even as a community, if we all got together, if this person doesn't want to clean their yard, what if we go clean it for them? That happens in a lot of communities. If we could get a youth group together that would go around and help the poor people that can't get up and clean their yards. A lot of people don't want to come here because they look around at the trash, and there's so many places that are beautiful, but there's also on that block one that is a sore thumb. So maybe we need to go help that person in that community. I'd be glad to get a bunch of my students to go around and do that. So as far as the leaves, I can't help that. The trees are beautiful, but I guess the city needs to clean it up if we're not going to clean it up ourselves. That's all I got to say about that one.
I wanted to answer the part about informing the community about ordinances. The leaf ordinance in the city of Ironton doesn't really pertain to the village of Coal Grove, but I do understand the issue of not having an informed citizen. So much we do in the council and in the council meetings, town hall, just goes unnoticed. And for that reason, my wife has been a big volunteer and a helper of mine to broadcast our council meetings live. And I noticed that after several meetings that when I would engage with people, whether it was at the store, at the freezette, the people actually knew what was going on. So I went to the council meeting and I made a motion to get the council to take the responsibility to start streaming these council meetings live, whether it be social media or YouTube. At that time, the motion was not accepted. It was rejected. So I would encourage anybody from the Village of Coal Grove to ask the council members why. Why not? Why wouldn't we want to get that information out? It helps a ton, and it really helps to just establish where we're at and the work we're putting in as a council. So I did want to take that time to answer that part of the question, because it's very important that we do get that information out about the ordinances and about the things we're doing at the table.
This question is for both Coal Grove and Ironton. What do you think the council can do to enforce current and past more resolutions dealing with overgrown lawns, debris, appliances, and similar issues throughout the city and village?
We'll start with Nate on this one.
Cool, another great question. Did you come up with those? Yeah. That's something I get quite a bit from people in the community, and it is a huge issue. We do have in the city ordinances pertaining to overgrown grass, weeds, and blight of property. We have our zoning and code enforcement that really does a good job as far as staying on top of that. It's hard to do with the resources that we have and how great the city is, but I think I've seen a large turn recently as far as how people are keeping up with their property. And I think, pride's a little contagious. When someone takes care of their property, it goes on to the next piece of property and on to the next piece of property. So I think it takes us as a community really buying in and taking pride in our community and keeping our lawns kept. With that being said, I know those circumstances do exist, and as a city council member, I've always been really pushing to make sure that our departments are funded to make sure we can stay on top of this issue. Additionally, we have meetings and discussions about this regularly, and the city recently has partnered more with Lawrence Scioto County Waste Enforcement, who has a lot more teeth in enforcing these issues and can write tickets on a criminal matter versus something civil that the city would pursue. So I think we've seen a lot of progress recently, and I hope it continues in the future.
Definitely agree with Nate on all of that. I wonder, is there some sort of reporting system? Like if you're a citizen and you notice a blighted property?
Real quick, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'm glad you brought that up because I think it is important for everybody to know. We've invested money with the website, and the mayor has a link on the zonings page where residents can go and report places that are possible zoning violations or unkept. They can leave their email address, and they can also follow the progress of that complaint as it goes through to make sure that it's moving through the system as far as being followed up. So yes.
So I love that, and I think that maybe we should just be more diligent in reporting. And also, I do know that there are some citizens in our community that they cannot deal with their problems. So I don't know if maybe we could do a community event once a year or something where people could go pick up maybe appliances that people have stranded in their yards and different things. I know not all of those issues are criminal issues. Some of those are just personal, circumstantial issues. So I think the city's doing a really good job with that, and maybe we should just be more diligent in reporting and trying maybe to do the yearly thing. But other than that, I think Ironton's doing a good job on that. Thank you.
That is a great question. I'd actually like to think a little outside the box on this one, and everything that's been discussed up to this point is valid and accurate in my opinion. I would like to have the city of Ironton partner, I guess is probably the best word, partner with some of the rehab facilities in town, the people that are battling addiction, and they've got a period of time that they've got to stay in a different type of facility. I work for Star Community Justice, and just like the county jail and like most prisons, there's a lot of work that gets done in the community by way of our residents. I think the city of Ironton would benefit by partnering with these facilities and, for lack of a better term, require that these facilities offer a detail of people that can come and do some of the work that we don't have the resources for. Like Nate said, there's only so many city employees, and people are new to living in Ironton by way of their current situation. I think that it would be only fair to expect, since they are using city services, water, sewage, trash, fire, police, I don't think it would be unreasonable to expect that these facilities could send a detail of half a dozen or a dozen people to work Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and do some of the work that our city couldn't manage to do otherwise.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mr. Perry. My parents lived in Flatwoods, Kentucky. For years, I have watched the prisoners from the city jail come at least once a month and clean the hill off, clean the street, Arglite Road, Belfont Russell Road, and there's a police officer sitting in a truck or like a van waiting for them to make sure they don't take off running somewhere. And if they take away from our community, then they need to give back in some way. And while they're in jail, we're feeding them, showering them. So, yeah, I think it's a great idea that they come and clean up. There's a lot of people in and out of our jail here. So put them to work. If people can't clean their own yards, they need help. Maybe we could start a youth group that, I don't want to brag on myself, I'll give them a month's free classes if they come and help clean up someone's yard. And I would advertise that. But we've got to help the community. There are too many homes next to a beautiful home that depreciates that house because you got this junkyard over here. And in Ashland, I have a man that does all my maintenance. I took him home one day. His truck broke down. And he said, see those 4 tires sitting on my driveway? I've got 2 weeks to get rid of them or they're going to make me pay a penalty. I've thought about putting something like that in process into our situations. Clean your yard up. It takes a community. It's got to be done. And this is a complaint I hear almost every day in the studio. I have a lot of people in Ironton. They're tired of the potholes. They're tired of this. They don't understand because they're not educated that we don't have the workers, employees, and the money to always keep these things going. So we've got to help each other.
Good question, Cole. It's something I have to deal with quite often as a council member now. The phone call from the guy selling his house who's telling me about his neighbor that has nuisance vegetation and he'd like for something to be done. And I can sympathize with those people. It's not fair to the neighbors that do take care of their lawn and do the things they're supposed to do. Back in the spring, I helped draft some legislation within the village that would really beef up our nuisance vegetation ordinances. We empowered our police chief and our police crew to go out and start enforcing these ordinances. And through there, I've gotten several phone calls. The police officers will knock on the door and cite them into court. And that's typically when the council member will get a phone call of, hey, I've got to go to court over my lawn. Some of them, very few of it is really laziness. That's typically not the case. I guess sometimes it is, but the majority of times it's elderly people and it's people without the means to actually do it themselves. I've loaded my boys up more than once, and we went and helped neighbors out and cut a few yards this year and ran the weed eater several times. I can sympathize with those people, so we want to help them out where we can. I would also like to say that anybody that's been cited into the court has yet to be fined. It's not a gimmick to create revenue for the village. It's simply the worst of it has been continuances. If they can bring proof back that they've cleaned these yards up and complied with the ordinances, their cases are dismissed. So that's one side of it, that we empower our police officers to enforce the ordinances. But I found over the years that working with organizations like the Land Bank, because some of these dilapidated homes aren't residents, they're people that have lost their homes to foreclosure. They're people that have lost their homes due to taxes, and they've been sitting vacant for years, and they're property that just no one cares about. The Land Bank has the means to go in and purchase those properties and revitalize those properties. By providing the Land Bank with addresses and just working hand in hand with them, we've been able to get 22 houses razed or tore down in the village. So that's a huge improvement, and that takes a piece of blight off that block that you no longer see, and now there's a couple trees planted and the grass is being kept. And like Nate, that's contagious. If people are taking care of their lawns, then the people down the road want to take care of their lawns. So that's one thing that we really try to push there in the village. So, and I think that, to our credit, has been one of our big successes, is to basically just clean up and have a presentable appearance within the village.
In Ironton, we have the Ironton Municipal Court. It's Kevin Waldo's court. And we also have a crew that he puts on the road practically every day to do trimming and cutting weeds in ditches, cutting tree lawns, cutting the entrances and exits off of State Route 52. And I'm sure that program could be enlarged. I don't know that using people that are in rehab would do the job or not, because they put a lot of money into that. Kevin does, into making sure everything's cut and cleaned. And if there's a certain problem place that they're missing, you can call his office and they will come out and take care of cleaning it up. So, and then as Nate said, I think we've got our code enforcement officer, and if she gets reports of something, if somebody puts it on the internet, and if they put their name with the complaint, well, then the mayor's office will follow up with them personally to let them know what's going on. But our code enforcement officer, she does a pretty good job, but looking at all the rest of the jobs that she does, it makes it hard to concentrate on cleaning up a neighborhood. I know she does it because I've talked to her and told her complaints I've had, and she's taken care of it immediately. So we're working towards that direction, and I think it's going to get better as time goes along and not worse.
Okay, is this better? Can you guys hear me? We good? Okay. So this is for both Ironton and Coal Grove. How do you plan to attract new businesses and promote existing businesses located in your city or village? We're going to start with Julie.
I get the hardest question of all. I'm not sure how we're going to do that. I don't want to open the Pandora's box of the water department, but we're going to have to get that up to par to attract a bunch of new businesses. I think we can do a lot with the riverfront, though, and start there. And I know that we can do a lot more with our trails and the Wayne National Forest, and so we should just start with what we have. I'm not, business is not my thing. I'm a more community-based person, but I definitely agree we need to attract businesses here, and I would definitely just partner with everybody in what they're doing. And if anybody's got an idea for a bakery or something like that, that would be great in town. But that was just my, yeah. Okay, thank you.
It's a great question. It is in the hearts and minds of most everybody that lives in Ironton, especially the people that are currently on council and working in city government. I've wondered for years how and why Ironton's natural resource, being the riverfront, is not more of a focus it bothers me when I travel to Ashland to see my mother. Literally every weekend that I cross that bridge, Ashland has something going on in the riverfront. It's not just for Pogue Landing week. It is something every single weekend going on. So what I would like to do is challenge the county to partner with City of Ironton, and I'd like to see Ironton build Lawrence Landing, challenge Lawrence County Commissioners to help us fund a new facility, family-oriented entertainment activities that we are using the riverfront as a focal point for drawing business, not just businesses at the riverfront, but businesses that want to be a part of all of the excitement that's happening at Ironton and Lawrence County's private entryway to the Ohio River.
I love what you said, Chris, but I'm going to speak the truth. The truth will set you free. You don't know how many things were ran out of Ironton. Every time somebody went to open a bakery, they hiked the rent up on her. Nobody helped her. But yet when she went to Ashland and opened the bakery, they called and cussed her out and everything. Ashland helped her come. They had grants available and set her up. There's a lot of people from Ironton that have gone to Ashland to open businesses. We could have had the mall out here on the hill, but everybody was afraid it would hurt their business. And don't tell me it's not the truth. It is the truth. So it's in Barbersville, and they're thriving much more, and their businesses multiplied. Their little mom and pop businesses multiplied because so much traffic is coming through. So how do we get that business back here like we used to have? We used to always shop in Ironton, even though we lived in Flatwoods when I was growing up. All my friends from Holy Family came to Ironton to go to the clubs and the restaurants. But for some reason, it was called greed. So we got to get past this, educate the new generation to work together, and we help each other. I don't know what else to say about that, but it's the truth.
Yeah. So, with the question like this, before I got in council 2016, prior to getting there 2017, I kind of sat at the house and thought, I wished our community leaders would do more to solicit business, and that's one of the first things I'm going to do when I get there. And it didn't take long to realize that I'm limited from an elected position. There's only so much I can do. That you got to count on capital investment. So what really can be done? And it didn't take me long to figure out that just by communicating with the business owners in our community and the people that can have the ability to invest in our community, and just making sure that we was a good liaison for their needs. We had an issue with our water line. One of the reasons why we went after water distribution is anybody that wanted to come to the village and build a building and open up a business was faced with about another $75,000, $100,000 investment for a bulk tank because we couldn't provide them the volume of water they needed for the fire suppression system in their business. This made the water distribution system that much more important. We don't want to inhibit people from coming to our village. So having the infrastructure there, working with people like FiveCo, the village of Coal Grove has the busiest exit ramp on US 52. I know Ironton's got several of them, but many people use our ramp to get in and out of Ironton, to get out 243. So, we have the traffic conditions that should solicit business to our exit ramp. We have vacant property. Before I got to the table, I thought this would be easy. We've got the traffic, we've got the people, we've got the space, but it really takes that capital investment, and that's something that the village council is not capable of. But we can make sure that the traffic flows well. We can make sure we're delivering enough water to run their fire suppression system. And you can ask the big property owners, whether it's Rick Griffith with McGinnis, who owns 160 acres at the end of Lane Street, or Dr. Bill Dingus with the LEDC, who owns property in our village that would be ripe for businesses. These are people I'm calling every 3 months just to ask what we can do. Is there anything going on? Do you have anybody sniffing your property that's interested in coming to build? and vice versa. When we get people that, I had a phone call 2 weeks ago, a gentleman, hey, I really like it in Coal Grove. I want to be able to build a business and I need a piece of property. You hang up the phone with a guy like that and you start calling these property owners just to see if you can set up a meeting between these two people. So it really comes down to that, working with the Chamber of Commerce, working with the LEDC to try to get the capital investment we need in our village and just having the infrastructure there ready for those businesses.
Again, this is one of the things that all the communities I think I've ever been in is trying to improve on. In Ironton, we have the Friends of Ironton. It's a group that took over the Rodney Theater, and they had completely restored it with a lot of help from other agencies. And we've got the Ironton Alive group, which I'm on the board of that. And we talk every month. We have 2 meetings a month, and we discuss who's wanting to do what in Ironton or in the tri-state. And we've had a lot of success that people don't even know about of businesses coming to Ironton and, giving it a try, seeing how it's going to work. You can look at, I'll name one that a lot of people probably don't know it's there, is the Shake Shop. They took over the caboose down at the water park, and they were pretty successful with it, selling ice cream and whatever they sell. And what they done, they took the caboose and they totally redone it, made it into like a concession stand. And then all the people that's going down there with the kids in the summer at the splash park, they could go over and get ice creams or hot dogs or whatever. And that's something, and that took quite a bit of work because we had to paint it, had to get it painted. We had to get bathrooms put in. I mean, it was a costly deal, but we had grant funding to do it with. And so, that we had, I'll tell you another one that we had coming that turned around and said no when the COVID hit was we had a seafood restaurant that was coming to downtown, already in the works. And then when COVID hit, they had to stop, which COVID hurt a lot of businesses. But there are other new businesses that we're talking to every day, as well as what Bill Dingus and Ralph Kline and the other ones are. So, I mean, it is as though Ironton is just sitting here doing nothing. I mean, we are out working, trying to get other businesses to come in, business from other states, other cities, and we're starting to see a pretty good turnaround of people expressing interest because we have so much to offer.
Just want to touch on a little bit of what Bob said and piggyback on that. We did, as City Council, establish that Economic Development Fund for the mayor to use to help recruit and grow businesses in the city. And we just got that fund up and started, and I would say grown enough to be really able to make an impact for the mayor to use, and then COVID hit. So I'm very excited to see what he does with that fund going forward and recruiting new businesses. He has used some of it for some of the things Bob talked about, and I think they are great investments, and I hope he continues to do that. I hope the City Council will continue to fund that. I think one of the things we've done as City Council was to invite a representative from the Lawrence Economic Development Corporation quarterly to address City Council as to economic development going on in our city. They are the primary on that, and I think open communication with those representatives has been great and has fostered a better communications and open, honest conversations about what direction we want to go to as a city. And finally, what I think the city, the role that it needs to play is be able to provide that necessary infrastructure for a business to be able to locate in our city. Are we able to provide quality water, sewer, and roads to that business? Are we able to pull that trigger and invest to get that business there? That's what we're working on to position our city to do. It doesn't happen overnight, but we've made great strides.
This question is for Coal Grove. Last month, the village was host to Grove Fest, a hard rock festival at Paul Porter Park. Organizers will be bringing it back next year. How do you feel the event went? What could be better done to coordinate such festivals? And what kind of events do you hope to see the village host in the future?
Like you said, we had Grove Fest a month or so ago. This was probably 8 months or so in the making. It was a gentleman who'd come to the council meeting and asked it to rent the park for the weekend to do this. I thought the event went really well. We had about 600 people show up, plenty of parking. I was a little concerned about the parking there, but it all worked out really good. Some of the fears that I had leading into it turned out to be nothing needed to worry about. I was worried about some damages and liabilities and things, but it went really well. It was, like I said, it was about 600 people. It brought people in from other communities. Those people ate at our Giovanni's. They ate at our Frisette, so that's always a good thing. About a year ago, I helped create a recreational committee as a part of the council, with the focus of that committee being on just bringing things to the community. It would be nice. Our first goal was to bring something quarterly, maybe around the holidays, whether it's the Easter Bunny coming in and driving the fire truck around and throwing Easter candy out to the kids, but had a lot of different ideas. One of my favorite ideas was having a deer festival at the Paul Porter Park. We see this up in Raritan off 73 there. They have a huge turnout for this, have vendors come in, the kids get to shoot bows, learn a little bit about hunting. So that's something I think would really go well in our community. I think it went really well.
We'll take a brief intermission just in case you guys want to stretch your legs for 5 minutes or so.
This question is for Ironton. What will you do to prevent the spread of drug treatment and drug rehab centers in the Central Business District, which is designed as a home for retail, office, hotel, permanent residences, museums, finance, galleries, etc.? Parking is at a premium for active shoppers. What is your plan? We'll start with Chris.
Thank you very much, Mr. Triplett. I feel uniquely qualified to talk about this since I work at STAR, and the majority of the folks that graduate from our program go back to their home communities or oftentimes end up in our community for a continued treatment, court-ordered or otherwise. I think that our city is doing a fine job. I've been going to council meetings now for about 3 months, and the past couple of meetings, one of the hot button issues that they are discussing is zoning ordinances that are designed to help ensure the tranquility of business opportunity downtown. There are a handful of drug treatment facilities that are downtown, and I know Nate is very well versed in that, as he had quite a bit to say about that during the last council meeting. So I would invite anybody from our community, come to council. You'll learn a lot. I would like to take the remainder of my time, though, to address an issue from a couple of questions ago. I'm mildly disappointed that the suggestion of using folks that are in drug treatment as a resource for doing community improvement and cleanup opportunities could be so easily dismissed. I've been campaigning pretty vigorously for about 2 or 3 months. And after having spoken to hundreds of people around town, discarded furniture and abandoned appliances is one of the top priorities. Clearly needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed in a creative fashion, since it is still a weekly, monthly, and ongoing issue. I think that there is an opportunity for the city of Ironton to partner with people that have community service hours, oftentimes in different counties. They picked up their charge in a different county, and so they can report those hours as community hours, and the judges freeway cleanup project is not to be considered part of this. That is a separate program in and of itself. Thank you.
Was there a question that we're supposed to be answering right now? The drug rehab. Yes. A lot of the parents that live here in Ironton do not want them near their house. They have complained and complained about this. I agree that everybody has a second chance or a third chance. That's as far as I go. The people in the businesses downtown, some have complained and don't want to be there because there's going to be all this drug rehab around their business. I've heard this from the people. So, yes, those people need help, but I understand also the ones that come around my studio that are in rehab and bring their children. And I have a lot of therapists working for me because my girls, they used to dance. We give therapy all the time and tell them they got to go. And the other parents don't want them in the studio because they're acting up, and it's quite a scene sometimes. So I had to pick up a little girl last spring. She's kicking the coaches. She's pulling my hair. And her mother comes in and says, I don't know what's wrong with my child. Really? You don't know what's wrong with your child? People, you try to give them a chance, but they're terrorizing the kids in the class. It's not the children, it's the adults' fault. We do have to do something about this, but they don't want them next door to their house. And I understand that. So where do we put these people to help them? That is a big issue. We also needed a cultural center in Ironton. That got blocked. We had a grant from the Endowment of the Arts for the Ronay Theater, and it got blocked. Don't know if you all know that or not. We had people here on the committee to get that started. Well, guess what? Aspire in Ashland has half of the kids from Lawrence County, Ohio, and they would have been downtown at the Ronay Theater. Truth, I was on that committee. So were you, Bob. So we try to bring good things in for our people to keep them busy, keep them off of drugs, get the kids off of drugs, and somebody wants to block it. It's called greed. Thank you.
I think this is a real problem that we have in Ironton. I'm glad the question was asked because I had been doing some checking into it. And I've checked with the fire department because they have to go and look at every one of these facilities before they'll let people move in. And about a month ago, we had 30 of them, 30 homes or buildings or wherever they put them at. They've taken some really nice homes and turned them into rehab because it makes so much money that's almost seems like it could almost be illegal. But there is problem. I just heard last week, I checked with them again, and they said, well, I think the number's getting closer to 40. And I think it is absolutely terrible that the money people are using Ironton because they can get property cheap, put 6 or 8, 10 people in a house, and the kind of money they make on that is phenomenal. I just heard today that the chiropractic clinic, and I'm going to say this, but I don't know from a real reliable source, but someone stopped by the shop and was telling me that that's what's going in the chiropractor shop there in the corner, 9th and Park Avenue. We couldn't figure out why they were restriping the parking lot. It's sat there forever, just growing up. There was a couple opportunities for them to put a couple different kind of shops in it that we weren't in favor of. They're going to put the I don't know what it's called. It's like the BBC the little pills, marijuana, gum beads or whatever. Someone wanted to put one of those in there, and they come to council, and we pretty much told them we didn't want it there. So I think they moved to Portsmouth. But, you know, we've just got an influx of street people down by your studio, Yvonne. There's always people sitting under the bridge behind Rich Oil every day. That's my route to work. Well, that's my route to work, and there's always people laying there, curled up on sleeping bags. I mean, I feel sorry for them because you look at them, and you know you think that, you know, by God's grace, that's not me, but they're there, and I think they're causing a lot of problems. We send the police down to make sure they're not dead or whatever. But the city council has passed, or we're in the process of passing an ordinance so that future houses cannot have more, I think it's more than 3 non-family members living in it. And the way I understand it, my research said that you got to have 5 in a drug rehab house in order to make the money go right. And so we can't rezone the city into R1, but we can rezone how many people can live in a house. And at this point, I think the number is 3. Is that correct, Nate? Yeah, you can have 5 today, and it's going to 3. So 3 people cannot put a drug rehab in because the state or whoever pays them cannot cover the cost of the house and the employees and all that. And the employees, which I think my time's up maybe, but they keep waving. But, you know, this is something near and dear to me because where I live at, I don't know if you all know where I'm at, but right across the street, I'm on a corner lot, and somebody bought 3 houses. Now, I understand they're going to make those in a drug rehab. And one of them has already got people there. Dogs, I mean, they have got so many dogs, it's pathetic. But, you know, we need to get control of this thing because we entice new businesses, new people coming to town, people buying houses. They don't want that fear that in a month or 2 there might be a rehab house. And the rehab houses are run, I think they're run okay, but then also I think that they're not what you want next door to your house.
Well, I'd like to preface my response here first by saying I have nothing against anyone that's battling with addiction at all. I feel for people that are battling for addiction. I've had friends, I've had family that have battled addiction. It is a huge issue in our community. What I take exception to is for-profit companies coming in and bringing people from outside of our community in for treatment and re-entering them in our community when they have relapsed or there's been some sort of recidivism instead of returning them back to their original community. That's what I have issues with. We have plenty of people in our community that are battling drug addiction that we need to be treating here now and not bringing people from Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Toledo to Ironton, Ohio for drug addiction treatment. I am all for helping people that are battling this and this epidemic. It's a crisis in our community, and our people. So what I hold an exception to is businesses having inpatient services downtown and bringing people in for treatment to make $1. That's what I hold an exception to. So with all that said, I've approached our solicitor for an opinion as far as is inpatient services allowed in the downtown area. And their opinion is yes, due to the way zoning is worded. My approach is reevaluate our zoning codes to make sure that the business area is to the environment that we want it to be and not inpatient housing. As far as group home and sober living situations in town, I understand Bob alluded to the number that are in town. And I, again, feel like people need to have situations where they can re-enter properly, find new employment, be around new people, new environments to get them out into the community. I'm very sympathetic for that. But again, it has to be in the right situations. And I believe that zoning and zoning enforcement in the residential areas should not necessarily have rehab living in it. And that is allowed in a lot of residential homes because they're not performing treatment in those homes. It's just simply residential. And honestly, you shouldn't and cannot be discriminating against people that have a disability and being addicted to drugs. However, we need to set the environment of single-family living in single-family neighborhoods. And that is the purpose of trying to change our zoning language from no more than 5 unrelated to no more than 3 unrelated individuals. So that's a long way of saying we need to attack this issue by evaluating our zoning codes and updating those.
Okay, so I definitely agree with everything that Nate has said and the other panel members have said. As far as what's there so far, there's nothing we can do, but I agree with the zoning language. We need to deal with that. I want to add, too, that this may freak some people out, but I had an alcohol problem for almost a decade, and I got let loose in Ironton. So there is positives that can come with new citizens that are no longer addicts, and we forget that there is also a big alcohol problem among people on the streets and that are in rehabs and things like that. So I don't really have anything to add. I agree with Nate and what he says, and I also agree that we need to try that. A lot of these people, they have to go somewhere, and we've got to come up with a solution to help people to learn to be healthy and substance-free and to just be regular members of our community. That was paramount to my recovery and my reason to why I don't want to drink or do drugs anymore. And I'm almost 8 years clean now. So I don't know. I don't know, honestly. Maybe we should get some parking situations worked out for our businesses that are there and also for the center that's already being built. I mean, it's coming up from the ground up, so it's going to be there. So maybe we should work on some parking to deal with that. And then I honestly have no answers other than zoning to prevent our town to be overrun with rehab type things. And I also really love the thing with the houses with the limit on the amount of people that can come in the houses. I've seen a lot of problems with that. I made my first 30-second warning, but it is a problem. So I think that's going to help a lot, actually, with newer things coming in. So thank you.
Okay, this is for Coal Grove, and Andy, you had brought this up earlier about the intersection on Marion Pike from 52. That is often the place of traffic backup. So what do you suggest could improve that, and what would you bring to the Ohio Department of Transportation as a solution? Do you prefer the intersection as is, or would you like to see a traffic light added to it? And how could that improve traffic flow?
Yeah, the intersection there of US 52 onto State Route 243, if anybody has tried to come from the Ironton area and make that left and go north on 243, especially certain times of the day, that's very difficult to do. In 2018, we met with FiveCo in the Department of Transportation, State of Ohio, and they proposed a couple of different traffic models. One was red lights at that intersection. Another was a roundabout. They'd done some computer simulations and showed us what the traffic would look like given the current traffic counts that they studied that intersection for about 6 months. And they come up with a couple different models, showed us the red lights. Those red lights at 3 o'clock in the day would have traffic backed up all the way to Forest Food Fair with the school coming out. So ultimately, the engineers decided that roundabouts were the way to go. With this, we get input, but those being a state route and US 52, Coal Grove doesn't have much of a say-so there because that's gonna come down from the state. They do allow us for input. My input would be to do the roundabouts. I know that they're not always popular. I think that's because they're new, and a lot of people here is not used to roundabouts. I think give them a time, and I think anybody that would see the computer simulation that they showed the town hall, and it was a public town hall meeting. We invited people out. I think we had about 10 people show up, and anybody that got a chance to take a look at that traffic count was in agreement that the roundabouts were the way to go due to the fact that red lights would put us back. There's also an expense involved with red lights. Even though it's on a state route, the village of Coal Grove has to maintain the red lights, and roundabouts are cheaper over time. But that definitely is a problem, and when we talked about soliciting businesses to Coal Grove, that's one of the infrastructure things that I referred to. We need to have that traffic flow a lot better. So I think with that investment, I think we're about a year or two out from having those roundabouts, but my understanding is they're working on funding those, and that is going to happen.
This question is for Ironton. Currently, water bills can be placed in a tenant's name. This sometimes leads to unpaid water bills the city is unable to collect. Do you think making the property owner be responsible for water bills instead of tenants going forward could eliminate this problem for the city? Why or why not? And we'll start with Yvonne.
The water bill, as I said before, we keep putting more and more on people that are handicapped, disability, and Social Security. We've got to stop doing that. They can't even hardly buy food, and they've got water bills over $150 a month. And I don't understand how other cities in the communities around us don't charge as much. But there again, the city's got to make money somewhere, so I guess that's where it is. But I'm just concerned about also the housing. I have a friend that's a Vietnam War veteran, and he's been looking for a house, and he said, I'm not paying $850 for a junky apartment. And so how do they even afford to live in these places? I think the rent in this area is extremely high. And then you get a water bill like that, and then I don't know how do we stop that? It's a good question, but I don't know how to answer it, because whatever you put on the ballot, people think they're going to get charged more and more, so they don't vote other solutions. There's more other solutions than to just keep making the poor and the retired people pay for these things. So that's what I'm hoping, that with a diverse council with young, old, women, men, we can all come together and give our ideas as to what's better for the community. I don't speak as well as some people because I'm not familiar with all this, but I want to help. That's the main thing. And I think everybody here is wanting to help, and I think everybody here is willing to compromise. So good luck to all of us.
Thank you. The one thing, I'm going to answer this in two parts, because I think the first question was, the first part was the water bill in the tenant's name. I think we have a system right now that works pretty good at putting the water bill in the tenant's name. Now, there's been a lot of other council members feel like we should put in the tenant's name and make the tenant collect the water bill from the owners of the property. To collect from the tenants and pay the bill. But I personally don't think it should have to be forced to be in the owner's name. I think if we regulate the tenants, what we're going to do with the tenants is in order to put in a tenant's name, if it's a first-time case, and I'm going to give you some prices there, but I'm not absolutely sure that it's still there. I think they pay a $250 deposit before they can put in their name. So if somebody walks in the waterworks and they said, I just rented a house up here somewhere, I want to put my name, we collect, the city being we, collect $250 in advance. Now, if we do our due diligence on that account, it'd be 1 in 100 that would ever be more than $250. If they paid $250 deposit, and this month the water bill was $150, and they don't pay it, then they get put on notice. And if it goes into another billing cycle, I think even before it goes into that cycle, that we make arrangements to pull their meter. Now, in the past, what's happened, and that's where we got to where we're at even discussing this, is that the water department would not stay on top of the billing cycles. And so we kind of tightened it all up, we being the council, we tightened it all up until they had to get that bill processed. If a bill goes out and it's not paid within 15 days, then we need to give them a disconnect notice. And being one of the city council members that's pushing that, sometimes I get a little lazy paying my water bill, and I got a disconnection notice at my house on day 16. And I thought, well, that's what we told them to do. So we went ahead, and of course I went down and paid my bill. But I think it's pretty much taking care of the problem, because I see these printouts where they have how many disconnects they have and what they're doing with it, and it seems like it's working out pretty good. The other thing I want to mention, part two of this thing, is I figured we'd be talking about the water bill, so I brought one. What used to be, and this is mine, what used to be like a water and a sewer and a garbage fee now has administration on it, a fire fee, a flood fee, a storm fee, municipal safety fee, and an economic development fee. We as council members currently are looking at all these fees and see if there's something we can do to remove part of them, so your water bill is truly going to be a water bill and not a everything catch-all. But we have the problem with that, we have no way of rebilling like the municipal service fee. I mean, we can't send out a bill every month for $15.64 by itself. We have no leverage to make somebody pay it. The leverage is, if you don't pay the bill, then we're going to turn off your water. But that's kind of a two-part. And about the tenant's name, they should always be in the tenant's name. And then the water bill needs to be cleaned up to be a water bill again.
As far as the tenant's responsibility for the water bill, I'd be open for discussion about that, but right now I think it works. We've made a lot of improvements over the last 2 years by increasing that deposit amount. That amount was increased to make sure that it was covering whatever balances might be delinquent. So our delinquents account receivables has really improved over the last 2 years and has gone down. I think we've seen the effect of that, and people really, you see them respond as far as wanting to pay and recoup that deposit. So I think it's working now as far as that goes, as far as the users being accountable for that and accountable for that deposit. And like Bob alluded to, we make sure that our water collection, water administration fund, we have 3 people in that and a supervisor. So they've done a lot better job staying on top of that, along with we've made some investment in upgrading our billing system. So I think a combination of those things has really improved our accounts receivables and delinquents for the city.
Okay, I don't have a whole lot to add to that. I actually was in favor of the tenant paying the bill before I heard all of the information. So I guess I'm open to whatever works for people. It just seemed to me when I worked for a real estate company and they managed a lot of properties, and it was a lot easier when the owner had to be responsible for the water. You just use it as part of your deposit. But as far as the water department collecting that money, it's easier to get it from the owner of the property. But with a deposit, I think that's actually a great idea. So I really don't have anything to add about that. I think council's on it.
I think that it would be important for people to, as Bob so succinctly went into, take a close look at the water bill. Having lived away from Ironton for a number of years, the water bill was not quite the shock to me that it is residents that have lived in Ironton for most of their lives. Because I had a water bill, I had a trash bill, I had a separate sewage bill. And so, if residents could look at the bill and understand that this is an amalgamation of those bills, it might help lessen the blow. That being said, certainly there is a prohibitive factor when it comes to getting an extra utility bill for people that are on a fixed income, people that are low income. So city has services that have to be rendered and have to be paid for. There's no way around that. And as Nate mentioned, you can't expect to mail out a $15 bill for firefighters fund. People are not going to pay that, so it has to be attached to something. It's kind of a catch-22, unfortunately, but I think if people look at other area community water bills, they'll see that the $40 or $50 that's being charged for water across the river is being supplemented by an additional $35 for trash, and then an additional $15 for this, that, or the other. So in reality, the fee itself is not that exorbitant, but it is, as I mentioned, it is a prohibitive factor. There needs to be, probably needs to be a better revenue base for the city of Ironton that boils down to jobs. If we had more jobs in Ironton, then we would not have the need for some of those items to appear on the city utility bill.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up and give everyone 2 minutes to close out the evening. We appreciate you all participating and spending your evening with us, and we'll start here on the end.
I'd like to thank the Ironton Tribune, Armstrong Cable for putting this on. Thanks, Cole. Thanks, Victoria. Appreciate it. Let me ask you guys a question. Did you guys come up with these questions, or is this they hand it to you? I got you. They were edited somewhat. Well, I bring up that point because I think it's interesting to kind of see where the future leaders have their priorities. You guys mentioned business development. You mentioned recreational items. You mentioned things to inform the residents about ordinances, which are all great points, and it's really good insight for us. And those are some of the things that I've brought to the council in the last 4 or 5 years, and that's the things I'll continue to bring to council. So if I'm lucky enough to get elected in the village of Coal Grove, you can count on me to bring transparency and bring that information to the residents. I think, we're trying to do that now, but we're going to do that more so. And we're going to continue to try to develop business and make Coal Grove an attractive spot for people to invest their money through the community leaders that we have there now. We're partnered up with Collins Career Center. They're in our village. So just putting these things together to make Coal Grove the best that it can possibly be.
Thank you. I'd too like to thank the Tribune and all involved in putting this on. But I would first, I want to, when you've been around as long as I have, and I want to keep being around, I'd like to mention some of the projects that's happened over the last 30 years and what councils and mayors and everybody has had to deal with. First, all accomplishments result from a team effort. We have no progress without cooperative work. And I'm happy to work with the mayor, council, CAO, and other agencies in order to build projects that bring business to our city. Here, I'd like to mention a few accomplishments that we have made. And when I say we, I mean the whole group. When I was first elected, I was actually elected in 1989, which makes me about a 33-year veteran. But anyway, we got notice from the state and federal people that the ADA requirements are no longer met where we're having our council meetings, which was in the old municipal hall, memorial building. And so what we've done, I got with the variety of the group, and we decided that the Pennies, J.C. Penney's, went out of business. So we decided that, us being the whole group, mayor and all, that we would buy the J.C. Penney building and renovate it, and we opened the new city center that met ADA requirements in 1992. Well, from 89 to 92, we were operating out of Judge Frank McCown's courtroom. But at the same time, in 1993, we had our water plant had been totally rebuilt, and we dedicated it in 1992. So we had the new city hall, the Pennies building. We had the new water plant, at which I'm going to mention is now up again to have some renovations done to it. But then we got to looking at other equipment stuff in the city of Ironton. We had antiquated fire trucks. So I was mayor at that time, and we decided to buy a new fire truck. So we bought a fire truck. I think it had a 125-foot ladder on it, so it would be able to reach Sherman Thompson building. The only problem was there wasn't nowhere we could park it because it was too big to get in any of our buildings. So we moved the fire department down to the municipal garage and set them a trailer to live in. And we decided to build a new firehouse. So we tore the old one down, built a new fire station. And then all modernized, it's all ADA compliant, and the new fire truck would fit in. Since then, we have bought numerous new trucks. One more thing. The one thing that I'm like the most proud of is the new Ironton Russell Bridge. And as mayor of Ironton, I got to sign the original contract with the state of Ohio to build the Ironton Russell Bridge. They had come to me, John Hagan did, and he said, we're building another bridge. It's either going to be in Ironton or Pomeroy. Do you want it? Of course, my answer is absolutely, because the old Ironton Russell Bridge was just about ready to fall down. So, if I had to pick one thing, it took 13 years to complete that bridge, which is, a lot of residents think you can start a project and build it and then 6 months you're in it. No, it doesn't work that way. It took 13 years to open that bridge up, and I had signed the original documents to build it, and then, believe it or not, 13 years later, I was still on council, and I got to be part of the ribbon cutting on it. But, if I had to pick one thing from my list, it would say that the bridge is most important, because I think the growth of Ironton has really improved. The traffic flow has improved. We used to, on the old bridge, I think it's like 18,000 cars a day, and I wouldn't be surprised if we weren't at 30 to 40,000 cars a day now. So I think it helped Ironton develop, it helped Ironton grow. Thank you.
The city's done great things over the last 4 years, and I've worked hard with mayors and other city council members over this time concerning such issues as increasing government transparency, being a partner for community and economic development, investing in recreation opportunities, improving infrastructure, maintaining full-time police and fire department, and providing quality service to our residents. While great strides have been made, there's still many more issues that need to be addressed and unfinished business that needs to be done. So this evening, I'd like to ask the community to please get out and vote on November 2nd to keep the momentum going and keep Ironton moving forward. Thank you all.
Hi, everybody. In closing, I would just like to say that I do thank everyone for listening to me and having the opportunity to be up here today. I would really appreciate everyone's vote, the trust that you would put in me to be on City Council. My main thing is to be of service to the community, be an ear on the ground. I would like to make videos after the meetings just to update the community on everything. And I would love to be focused on the riverfront and different festivals and different things like that. I realize that I do not have a lot of business experience like some of the other members, but I think that's why there are more than one member on the council. We can all bring something different and special to council, and together I think that we can really keep Ironton going and make it something extremely awesome. So thank you so much.
First, I'd like to say thank you to the Ironton Tribune and the staff for showing up and helping to facilitate this wonderful event. Special thanks to Madam and Mr. Moderator. I applaud your civic mindedness. It's fantastic. Thank you. I want to take this moment to ask those that are in attendance and anybody that will be watching the streaming version of this tomorrow. If you have the faith in me that you want to hire me to serve this city for 4 years, I'll do my best every day in every way. I bring a particular set of skills, I guess, to borrow a phrase. I am a grant writer by trade for about 6 years, and I believe that my unique perspective can be an added feather in the cap of an already great running city government. I ask for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you very much.
I'd like to say thank you again for giving me this opportunity, and so far I've been very well educated on things that I did not know about, and a lot of our community doesn't take the time to answer and solve their own problems, and they want to blame it on someone else. The new bridge is not the bridge we voted on. The traffic flow is horrible on the new bridge, and I'd like to get that cleaned up. And there's not enough parking downtown, and there's so many things besides just that need to be resolved. And hopefully, if I get the opportunity to help, I'll listen to everyone's concerns and put that on the table, and if we all get along and listen to the other solutions, hopefully we can move forward with a younger generation behind us and listening to us. Thank you again, and good luck to everyone.